last question. That was last question.
Can you do one more thing?
Nope. Introvert time.
All right, so moving along. So we talked about like opinion versus argument pieces. The idea that you have to evaluate evidence, like in middle school, like now there's good evidence and bad evidence. We talked about the necessity of like a formal tone and a style. Mm-hmm. That is writing. Was there anything else? Writing weaknesses?
I think that goes back to writing is so closely tied to reading. So it's like if you lack the stamina to really do the research that's going to support your writing's going to be weak. If you lack vocabulary, if you lack content knowledge, like if you're struggling with reading to learn, mm-hmm. you're going to struggle with writing to inform, to explain. You're going to struggle with that next level of analysis in your writing.
It seems like all of the next level is like adding elaboration, adding explanation, talking about your evidence, basically being able to say what you want to say and then explain why it's important. So like in elementary school, it might kind of stop at like, I'm going to say what I want to say and here's my evidence. But then in middle school, you're only halfway done. Now you need to explain to me, what does your evidence mean? Why does your evidence support what you're trying to say? Why is what you're trying to say important? And why should I care? So like, I feel that being able to like elaborate on all of those things is where middle school is really pushing kids. So like, there's a lot that you're trying to do in the writing, elaborate, explaining, talking about your evidence. Why is it important? Why should we care? What's the big idea? All of that elaboration has to happen in writing.
Right. It's all, you're taking the identification that you learned in elementary school, your ability to just recognize when things are happening, and you're applying it. Yeah. Now you have to do it, and you have to be able to do multiple things at one time.
Yeah. All right, our last academic bucket is math. So we've talked about this before on a different episode. So how does math change in middle school? How does math thinking change? Why does middle school math suddenly become so abstract?
Algebra. Everything in middle school is getting you ready for algebra. And as we talked about in our middle school math readiness episode, algebra is like the key to future mathematics success.
Literally everything.
Everything. I mean, you can predict high school graduation rates.
You can't do chemistry without algebra. You can't do physics without algebra. You can't do anything without algebra.
You need it. And basically algebra is the learning to read versus reading to learn equivalent in the math world. Like all math up to algebra is you learning to read. You're learning how to do the building blocks of math.
Learning your fractions, learning your decimals, learning your multiplication, division.
Geometry.
All geometry. Shapes. All just turns into algebra and then application.
Yeah, straight application.
So algebra is the big one. What else do they pile on in math?
I mean, I think the big thing when we talk about this shift from arithmetic to algebraic thinking is really looking at like variables. Being able to say like this number could be like what goes here? Like I have this and I have this, what goes here? Can I figure out this with this information? And that's really from like x plus 4 equals 12. It could be simple like that. Mm-hmm. To factoring polynomials. So
yeah, because now you get y too. Now you're dealing, like your whole number system expands.
Right.
Like in elementary school, negative numbers didn't really exist.
Right.
And now you have negative numbers in 2 directions.
Yeah. The number line it goes the other way. And then you have to understand negative fractions, negative decimals. You have to understand things like imaginary numbers, which I honestly learned for algebra, and I definitely couldn't tell you what one is right now. Because I don't use imaginary numbers, but you need to learn them because you might be like something that does use them.
They're useful for something.
Someone's using them.
Somebody's using imaginary numbers. So you also get like ratios, proportions, unit rates. So like fractions become way more complicated. Fractions are now not just fractions, like they're ratios, they're rates, they're percentage. It's like the way you like a scale drawing of something. So,
I mean, it's every formula that you're going to learn in physics is really like if you think of gravity, it's 9.8 meters per second squared. That's like its own little math problem.
Unit rates, yeah.
You know? And like, it's not just knowing that, it's being able to explain what does that mean. And that's like the big shift in thinking that we're talking about with math. Is going from, I've got a number, I figured out the number, to being able to explain, like in a real world context, like what does this number mean? What is the story it's telling me?
And then like with geometry, you go from like area to now you have volume and like more complex shapes.
And you're trying to, and you're using algebra to figure out missing pieces. So like, if I have a triangle and I know the measurement of one side and like I know the measurement of like two angles, I should be able to figure out what the measurements of the other two sides are.
So why do shaky elementary math foundations become so visible in middle school?
It's the same as going from learning to read to reading to learn. It's the same thing. Like if I can't fluently read and understand a text going into middle school, I'm not going to be able to read about insert historical event here and understand it and form opinions and analyze it, because just reading it is hard. It's the same thing in math. If I can't fluently add, subtract, multiply, divide, if I can't look at the number 8 and the number 12 and tell you how they're related because they're both factors of 4 or 2, you know, like if I can't do those things fluently, the gap becomes huge because you're no longer learning the math.
And nobody's teaching you that stuff anymore.
And they've stopped. Yeah.
They've stopped teaching it to you now.
I assume in 8th grade
different.
you know your times tables.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that foundational understanding of how numbers are related, even a calculator it'll help you get the right answer, but you're not going to understand it. And so for that deeper level algebraic thinking, you're going to struggle.
Yeah. And it's not going to be fun. So, all right. So kind of overall, what do you think you wish more parents understood about like the academic transition between elementary school and middle school? I mean, you might have just talked about it. It also connects to like student overwhelm. So like, what is a really important thing for parents to understand about an academic transition between elementary school and middle school? And like, why do you think so many students can become suddenly overwhelmed in middle school?
I think the big transition here is academically, the rigor has increased. It is, you're taking skills and now you're applying them. I taught you how to use all the tools in your toolbox, and now I want you to build a house with them. It's that next step, that application. So that is challenging academically, but there are other challenges on top of that. So now not only are students, do they have harder academic work, but again, they might have 4 to 6 teachers, and they have to be organized. They might have to advocate for themselves. They have to manage their time. So I think what I wish...
puberty.
And they're going through puberty. So like, they are deeply self-conscious. And I think we all remember being in middle school. It is I'm going to speak from my personal experience. It was like the hardest like 2 to 3 years of my life.
I think I blocked mine out. I don't remember much about middle school.
It's because it's terrible.
I remember French fries and Hawaiian punch
Oh man.
and typing class.
I remember being very awkward and like very like I'm like everybody is looking at me. Like your egocentrism is at like an all-time high.
Yeah.
You know, you're like everybody cares very much about me and what I'm doing.
And your entire academic foundation is now being tested.
Yes.
Like, did you learn everything you were supposed to learn in middle school? Okay, in elementary school, because in middle school you're going to find out.
and then on
And
top
not in
of
a
that,
fun way.
so like as you mentioned at the beginning, like in middle school your academic rigor goes up, the expectations of your ability to function go up.
Yeah.
So the executive functioning expectations increase, and then you have this heightened like socio-emotional environment that you're in where like maybe you're not with the same people every day, and like maybe you're starting to be interested in your classmates in a way you weren't before, and like you're deeply self-conscious and your body is changing, and all of this is happening at once.
It's a lot of mismatches that have to be managed.
Things are not, it's a lot. And so I wish what parents knew is just the amount of support. You might think my kid is older, and parents, families, whoever loves a young person who is going through this time in their life, they are older and they don't need me as much. And I would argue that they need you the most. Like they need you to model how to manage all this stuff. We talked about the high school readiness. Look in their book bag.
Yeah. Or make them show you their book bag so that you're putting the responsibility on them.
But like you still need a book bag routine. If you had one in elementary school, you still need it maybe now more than ever.
Yeah.
Because their attention is being pulled in so many ways.
Yeah.
And I think that's like the biggest piece of advice. They need you more. Elementary school was easier academically, it was easier socially, and it was easier in terms of their expectations. And like everything is harder now. Don't assume they don't need you.
I just need something different.
They also might be a little difficult right now. So, like, I understand families. I know you're being like, I try to help them and they talk to me in grunts. I get that. I do. Don't give up on them.
It's their brain.
It's just their brain.
Yeah. You know, they say that the only hormonal changes that are worse than adolescence, than puberty, is menopause and pregnancy.
I've gone through 2 out of 3 of these things, and
Yeah.
I'm approaching 1. So, like, you know what? I feel that in my soul.
So if you are a perimenopausal woman, you can have empathy for your
Middle
kids,
school
for your
offspring.
kids going through puberty, because you're kind of like going through the same kind of hormonal changes.
Remember that time you cried over cake? That's what your kid's going
That's what
through
your
right
kid's
now.
going through.
I cried over cake when I was pregnant with Ben. Because I really wanted to eat it, but I also really wanted to go to sleep, and I couldn't eat cake and sleep at the same time, and my brain just broke down.
Couldn't do anything else.
So imagine your kid who needs to, like, read to learn and navigates, like, a horrible social situation because, like, the girl that sits in front of them is mean to them. You know, like,
Yeah.
overwhelmed.
That's going to all be in segment 3 of this episode. In the next episode, we are going to talk about like executive function stuff.
Yep. Stay tuned.
Yay.
Like, follow, share, subscribe.